Man, why are you going so fast? You really need to chill out there. I have to do this hard because I'm doing it in half the time. Oh damn, well that sucks. I can go fast if I want to, but I don't have to. So that intro was really fantastic, and it was a great way for me to show off my super thick thighs. And the question still begs to be asked, which type of mortgage is best? A 15-year or a 30-year mortgage? So let's break it down and see which one is actually the best option. So there's going to be a lot of math in this video, and I'm super excited about it because I can show off all of those skills that I learned in college, all of those things that you would expect a math major to earn, things like addition and subtraction. So if you're not someone who's very excited for math, I'll try to make this easy, but it's going to be very clear which type of mortgage is going to be the best and which one that you should actually pick by the end of the video. First, let's take a look at a 15-year mortgage. And if we go on bankrate.com on August 27th, 2021, when I was actually writing the script and doing research for this video, yep, Saturdays aren't for the boys, they are for YouTube. The average interest rate that a homeowner could get on a loan was 2.6%. Now that is going to be very dependent on the amount of money that you're putting down, your credit score, and other loan qualifications, as well as which lender or which bank that you choose. But I'm just talking about the average. But I'm really excited for someone to go down in the comments telling me that they got a much better interest rate and seem like they're way cooler than everyone else. Please go ahead and do that. That really helps my engagement for the channel. So let's go ahead and talk about some of those benefits of the 15-year mortgage versus that 30-year mortgage. And that first benefit would be that the interest rate will always be lower than the 30-year mortgage. The bank is willing to offer you that mortgage interest rate at a lower percentage because you're going to be paying them back faster. But because there's a lower interest rate and a shorter timeline, your payment each month will be higher. But again, you're going to be paying it back in half the amount of time. So looking at an example where you have a $300,000 loan at a 2.6% interest rate for a 15-year mortgage, you're going to have a $2,014.52 per month mortgage payment on your home loan. Now that $2,000 a month number is going to be dependent on the amount of taxes that you have to pay for owning that home and having that property, as well as the homeowner's insurance policy that you have. Those things can change, as well as they can be higher in some areas and lower in other areas. So that can be very dependent on how much your monthly payment is, but we're going to keep that consistent through looking at the 30-year mortgage versus that 15-year mortgage. And that total interest that you'll be paying on that 15-year mortgage throughout the entirety of that 15-year mortgage, if you paid it off in the same schedule that you are supposed to be doing according to the bank, you would pay $62,613.70. And that is going to be less interest than if you had a 30-year mortgage. One, because the interest rate is lower, and two, because you're paying it off in a quicker timeline. So you're paying more principal each time you have a monthly payment. And that would be the second benefit for that 15-year mortgage. Overall, throughout the course of the loan, you're going to be paying less in the mortgage for interest. And the last positive benefit of the 15-year mortgage at face value would be that you own your home free and clear faster. Woohoo! You own that home 100% free and clear. You no longer have any monthly obligations for debt for that housing payment. The biggest downside of that 15-year mortgage is that your monthly payment towards your housing will be higher when you actually have that housing payment. So if you compare it to a 30-year mortgage, you'll have about an $800 per month higher monthly mortgage payment than if you had that 30-year loan. But that's assuming you have the same interest rate. And like we talked about, for that 15-year mortgage, you will have a lower interest rate than the 30-year mortgage. So let's go ahead, take a look at that 30-year mortgage and see how the math plays out. Looking at that 30-year mortgage and going back to bankrate.com and checking out what the average interest rate that someone could get if they're applying for a 30-year loan would be 3.28%, and that was as of August 27th, 2021. And again, I know you're going to be going in the comments saying that you got a better rate. I personally have a better rate on all of my loans, but I am not freaking out and telling everyone on YouTube how cool I am. Well, in my own videos I do, but I don't do it in the comments. And with that interest rate, you're going to be having a $1,310.56 per month mortgage. Again, highly dependent on your taxes as well as your insurance, but we're keeping it the same across both of our examples of the 15-year and the 30-year. Now, the main benefit of the 30-year mortgage versus the 15 is you have a much lower monthly payment. you're going to be paying $703.96 less every single month that you have the loan for. But once year 15 and day 1 starts, you're going to be having a mortgage still, whereas with the 15-year mortgage, theoretically at this time, unless you've refinanced or done something else, you will no longer have a payment. The other great thing about that 30-year mortgage is with that $703 extra that you're keeping every single month, you can use that for other expenses as well as investing or doing anything that you want with that extra money. And with that 30-year mortgage, you're going to have a $171,000 of interest that you're going to be paying over the course of that 30 years. So that is $110,000 plus that you're going to be paying in interest over the course of the same loan of that 30-year mortgage versus that 15-year mortgage. So that's obviously the biggest downside at face value of the 30-year mortgage versus a 15-year mortgage. So at face value, it seems like that 15-year mortgage is going to be better. You're paying less interest, you have a lower interest rate, you're going to own your home faster, free and clear. It's essentially the best thing you could do. Well, second to smashing that like button and subscribing if you haven't already done so. And if you really like doing things that are beneficial for you, go ahead and check out my Patreon. And after you've done all of those things, let's actually back up, look at my computer and do some real math so I can show off some of that stuff that I learned in elementary school, those additions and those subtractions. First off, let's look at that 30-year mortgage, and if instead of paying that extra $703.96 per month, yes, I have everything written down in my trusty notebook, so I'll be referring to that. So if you made extra payments of $703.96, which is the difference between the two mortgages that we figured out, over the course of that 30-year period, you would be paying off your mortgage in about 16 years instead of 30 years, as well as the fact that you'd be paying less interest. Except for the fact that you're still paying more interest than that 15-year mortgage. You have about $23,000 in savings on the 15-year mortgage, and the reason that is one, you're paying it off faster in the 15 years, and two, your interest rate is a lot lower, so you're just going to be paying less in interest back to the bank. But instead of making that extra $703 per month towards principal and owning your home faster, free and clear, what if you actually just invested that money? So we're starting at $0 here on this investment calculator. We're looking at a rate of return of 7%, which is quite standard when even looking into inflation after all of your investment returns. And each year we're going to be investing that $703.96 per month. And we're going to be doing that at the beginning of the month, similar to when we would have paid our actual mortgage. So that would yield us an $827,902.62 return after that 30-year period. You might be thinking, wow, that is super cool. That is a lot of money that I can make just by investing that excess when I have that 30-year mortgage versus that 15-year mortgage. But you also might be really smart sitting there thinking, but Avery, I'm going to be finished paying that 15-year mortgage after 15 years. The 30-year mortgage takes 30 years. So on year 15, day 1, year 16, day 1, you're able to then invest that $2,014.52. So let's take a look at how much you would actually net after that amount. So same principles apply here. We have 15 years instead of 30 years because the first 15 years we paid off our mortgage, and now we're able to invest $2,014.52. So over that time period, our ending balance would be $630,270.36, which is also pretty decent and over 15 years. But the one thing that I'll also say is over a 30-year period, that 7% rate of return is more likely to happen because you have more time in the market. Within a 15-year period, you have less time in the market for any type of corrections to happen and things that are having more fluctuations. When you have 30 years, you're more likely to ride out those fluctuations and ride the entirety of the stock market for a longer period of time, which over time will see that average 7% return. All right, so let's slide right on over to my Excel spreadsheet where we can look at the 15-year versus 30-year mortgage and see which actually makes sense, because I've given you some numbers of how much interest you would pay for each and then how much your investment return could be once you're finished paying off that mortgage, or instead of paying that mortgage early, taking that excess money with that 30-year mortgage and investing it over that 30-year period. So with our 30-year mortgage here, we're going to be saying that we are going to make an $827,902.26 return, and that is how much we're investing, not how much that we are having in interest. So that is a pretty decent chunk of change, but with that 30-year mortgage, we have $171,802.96 that we paid in interest. So if we do some quick maths, we can see that the amount that you're going to earn after investing that money minus the amount of interest you paid would net you $656,000 and $99.30 after that 30-year period. But let's go ahead and take a look at the 15-year mortgage. If you invest after that 15-year period is up, then you would have $630,000, $270.36, which is pretty good for investing for only 15 years. Congrats if you can do that. And then if we go ahead and look at the amount of interest, that's $62,613.70. And if you're bored, let me know in the comments below, but this stuff really gets me going. So if we can do this right here, same type of maths, investment amount and your return minus the amount of interest that you paid, you have $567,656.66. So we can see over here that if we have that 30-year mortgage and we look at the amount that we're getting over the 30-year period versus over that 30-year period with the 15-year mortgage, we come out net positive $88,000 with that 30-year mortgage. Now this is taking a lot of things into account, assuming that you're smart enough to know to invest that excess money instead of wasting it on random stuff. I said you could have that extra $703 a month towards any expenses you want, but those expenses should be buying things like index funds or other type of investments that'll increase your income. So that's what we should be doing here. And if you're going to be doing the 30-year mortgage, I would suggest doing that because you're going to come out with the math right here clearly stated out that you'll come out $88,000 ahead with a 30-year mortgage versus a 15-year mortgage. Well, hopefully your brain hurts and you guys get a good understanding of how math really works and how simple it is to do addition and figure out what type of decisions you need to make in your life with simple math, like what type of mortgage that you should get. And the other great thing about having a 30-year mortgage is you can always make extra payments. But when you have that 15-year mortgage, you are tied to that higher payment. If you want to pay your mortgage off faster, you can. I wouldn't suggest it just by looking at this basic math down here, but you can make those extra payments if you want. Another thing that's important to note is you could take that extra money that you're saving from the 30-year mortgage and you don't just have to invest in the market. You could buy rental properties that yield an even greater return where someone else is paying your mortgage off as well as you're getting monthly cash flow and a bunch of other great benefits. So you can take that money and invest it into cash flowing assets instead of paying the bank back as fast as possible so that you have this home that is sort of considered an asset but really isn't, and you have a monthly liability to it. And now you're completely tied to that one home, and if the value of that home decreases or increases, that is all the amount of return that you have. If the market crashes, your home is tied to that. If the market goes up a lot, that's awesome, and you are tied to that. But if you have multiple different assets, a diversified stock portfolio, you're going to be off in a much better position than just owning that one home and not investing anywhere else. So overall, the reason why the 15-year mortgage is so well advertised by banks and you have these lower interest rates is because the banks are going to be getting more money now. And more money now means they can invest more money now and make more money. And they know people do not think in the long term, and people typically don't invest their money. They just want to pay off that mortgage and be debt-free as fast as possible. But debt is not necessarily a bad thing because you can utilize that excess money like we saw to invest. And right now, with mortgage rates being so low, basically well below inflation and not able to beat out that 7% average historical return with the market, you might as well invest your money instead of investing into paying off your mortgage. When you pay off your mortgage early or have a faster timeline for your mortgage, you are accepting the interest rate as the rate of return on your money. You're saying that that 2.6% or that 3.28% is the best that your money can do. But we know from history that your money can do a whole lot better in the market or purchasing rental properties or other cash flowing assets. And you can at me and tell me that it's way better to pay your mortgage off fast, but there is no mathematical reason for you to want to pay your mortgage off fast. And you're going to be a much better off position in terms of your portfolio if you take that excess money and invest it elsewhere. So if you followed along with all of that math, congrats, you are an absolute genius, just like my self-proclaimed self is. because I have that math degree. So thanks again for watching, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Share with your friends so they don't miss out on an extra $88,000 or more on their life, depending on how large of a mortgage that they have. Thanks again for watching, and hope to see you guys next time.